Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Live and Learn podcast. We'll be doing well on this Sunday, January the 11th, 2026. Coming to you live following the Philadelphia Eagles losing to the San Francisco 49ers at home in the wild card game, 23-19. The champs are done. They will not repeat. They are not going to get out of wild card weekend. And it's the same script. This is what happens in the last time they won a Super Bowl. They made it to wild card weekend the next season, lost to Tampa Bay. This year they lose to San Francisco at home it got up to a 6-point favorite. San Francisco wins outright, and really impressive stuff from the San Francisco 49ers, who are without Fred Warner and no Ayuk the whole season. George Kittle got hurt in the second quarter. It's not officially confirmed yet, but I can confirm it here for you watching football for as long as I have. George Kittle tore his Achilles. He's done for the season. He's 32 years old. His career could be over. That might sound hyperbolic, but it could 100% be the truth. They're playing a fifth-string linebacker in Eric Kendricks, a 12th-year veteran out of UCLA. Christian McCaffrey is clearly banged up, but still had 114 yards today, 2 touchdowns, a key game-winning touchdown grab from Brock Purdy. But they find a way. Robert Saleh, who I believe will be a head coaching candidate and will probably become a head coach again during this cycle, was a head coach of the Jets. It didn't work out. It rarely works out for anybody coaching the Jets. He knows how to coach that defense. He gets the most out of them. And they made plays. They made stops when they had to. And San Francisco is just a really good story. Brock Purdy finding a way, a good story. Jawan Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, who's played in Baltimore. He's played in Kansas City for a cup of coffee. Now he's in San Francisco. Over 100 yards today. Touchdown grab, a 61-yard grab on the opening possession that was ultimately a touchdown drive. And this game came down to the wire. It's been an amazing weekend of football. This weekend has been a clear example why football is the greatest sport on the planet. If you can include the Thursday night Ole Miss Miami game that was crazy, that came down to the wire, shout out to the U, there's no competition. Hockey, you can't touch it. Basketball, spare me. Probably nobody's playing in the game anyway. Baseball, they had a great World Series, and I loved it. But there's nothing like football. And we still have 2 more wildcard games where I'll be up until 12:30 tonight. I'm sure like some of you will as well, watching these games. Because we love it. And the sad thing about it is there's only so many games left and then it's over for 6 months. But we got figure skating at the Olympics to look forward to. And bronze medals. Who gives a fuck? But San Francisco now will play the Seattle Seahawks, who they've already played twice this year. 2 close games. They won one, lost one. Last meeting went to overtime. Sam Darnold, that kind of incredible touchdown drive, 4th down throw, 2-point conversion. So there's history. I think San Francisco has a chance, 100% a chance of winning that game and getting to an NFC Championship game, even with their wounded roster. They won't be favored in that game, but it won't be I don't think it'll be a massive favorite. 1.5, maybe 2.5. Anything above 2.5 points, I'd take San Francisco plus the points. We'll talk about that more throughout the week. But Philadelphia, It just never felt right the whole year. They never found a groove. Won the Super Bowl, dominated the Chiefs at just an overwhelming defense. Jalen Carter, George, and some of their defensive guys had great years, but offensively, they were inept. They had 3 games out of their last 6 where they did not get 50 yards of total offense in the second half. I'm going to repeat that. 3 of their last 6 games, they did not get 50 yards of offense in the entire second half, 2 quarters. They didn't get it today. Jalen Hurts didn't play well today. His receivers didn't play well today. They ran the ball early, but I think San Francisco and Robert Saleh said, okay, we're going to try to stop the run. If we can do that, we got a pretty good chance of staying in this game and maybe ultimately winning it. Purdy threw 2 interceptions, still didn't matter. Eagles 0 points off those turnovers. Barkley rolls his ankle. Offense limited. Philly nowhere to go. A.J. Brown fighting with Nick Sirianni on the sidelines for what feels like the 10th time this season. He's made comments from the get-go. Don't take me in fantasy. Football hasn't been that fun this season. All things about him and less about the team, and I think that's been kind of a clear sign that things aren't going well in Philly. The fans, at least from afar, seem like they hate this team. They hate what it's about. They hate the way they play. They're boring. Nothing works. But they won their division, outlasting the Giants and the Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. You get to the playoffs. You have a home playoff game. You're playing a wounded San Francisco team who just were playing for the 1 seed and ultimately got destroyed by Seattle. And it's a bizarre loss. It is. That's how I'm going to describe it. It can't happen. And yet it did. And there will be changes in the crazy thing about going into wildcard weekend is I think you had multiple teams where you go, there could be names added to the coaching carousel, if you will, if teams lose. I think the Bills were in that mix. We'll talk about them. They won't be included. They won today. Philadelphia was certainly in that mix. They won the Super Bowl last year. But is Nick Sirianni the head coach next season? The easy answer is sure he will. He won a Super Bowl last year. They just won another division title. I don't think it's a guarantee at all. The team fell apart. The team offensively were so non-threatening. Saquon Barkley went from a superhero to a mediocre running back. They had injuries on the offense. Lane Johnson didn't play today, which is a huge, miss because he's one of the best linemen in the history of football. But you can't go from not having Lane Johnson to just being a complete non-entity offensively. And that's really what they became. A.J. Brown, I don't think will be back on this team next year. I don't think there's a chance in hell he will. Because you have the quarterback signed up long-term. He's not going anywhere. But these two can't coexist. They can't play together anymore. I'm sure A.J. Brown will have a sizable market. I don't think it'll be as big as it was when he got traded from the Tennessee Titans to Philly on draft day 5 years ago. But I think he'll have a market. He's still a big receiver with a big catch radius that is a lethal weapon in the red zone if utilized properly. But it just hasn't worked in Philly. He's been a deterrent to the team when it comes to cohesion, and he's made it about himself far too often, which to me, I don't think NFL teams will be 100% on board with, and open arms and bringing him into the fray, because quite frankly, that's not how NFL teams typically operate. So somebody will take him. Somebody will pick him up that needs receiver help. Who that team is, Green Bay comes to mind. I think they could use, a number one receiver, if you will. I doubt you want to trade him in conference. If you could trade him, oddly enough, I think the Tennessee Titans would love to have him to give Cam Ward a weapon. Maybe a reunion in Tennessee would work with a new GM than the one that traded him to Philly, which was a stupid trade way back when. A.J. Brown went to a number of Super Bowls in Philadelphia, winning one. A really good Eagles career, if I dare say so myself. But it just didn't work this year. The team didn't work. It didn't have the same feel trying to run it back. I thought before the season, I had the Bills and the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl. I'm clearly going to be wrong. I was wrong about a lot this year. I still think one of my picks is going to be right. We'll get to that. But watching the Eagles was like watching, a human being try to escape quicksand every week. You just go deeper and deeper, and it's kind of a sad watch. And ultimately, you knew what was coming. You knew they weren't going to be competitive, and some games they found a way to win. More often than not, they found a way to lose. And it ends today at Lincoln Financial to San Francisco. They demand winning in Philadelphia. I don't know if they fire Sirianni. It wouldn't surprise me if they do. I think there's a 100% chance A.J. Brown is on a new team at the start of next year. And they regroup and you try to keep winning, because the Giants, not an elite team, still on the come up. We'll have a new coach. I like Jackson Dart. I like Malik Neighbors. I like Cam Scattaboo. But two of those three guys are coming off major, major injuries. Will that new coach be John Harbaugh? That remains to be seen. Kevin Stefanski would be a good hire in New York. We'll get to the openings later in the pod, but no game in these playoffs to me is a surprise because it is so wide open. It's one of the most wide open seasons in recent memory because there is no clear-cut favorite. The Bills were a favorite in Jacksonville today, but nobody would have been surprised if the Jags won. Nobody. Because let's pivot to that game. I believe that today's game between the Bills and the Jags, the winner of that game was going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And I think the Bills are going to the Super Bowl this year. I've thought that since the beginning of the year. They've had their trials and tribulations. New England ultimately won the division. New England beat them. They lost to the Dolphins in Miami in embarrassing fashion. Coleman, Keon Coleman has been a healthy scratch 4 different times this year. Hasn't always been pretty for the Buffalo Bills. However, they found a way. And in today's game, which was great, it was kind of a back and forth mistakes in the first half where Trevor Lawrence throws into cover 2, intercepted. Then you have Ray Davis fumble on a kickoff return. You had Trevor Lawrence on a 4th and 2 where he had the edge and he could have had a touchdown in the play. His knee drops before he even gets the first down. Turnover on downs. The Bills go 85 yards to go score a touchdown the very next drive. And you had Cam Little, one of the most accurate kickers in football, miss a kick at the end of the half to give the Bills the lead. And in the second half, in the fourth quarter, you had 4 lead changes, which is the most in NFL history. Back and forth. Let me find my notes here for that game, because it was frantic. So you had Josh using his legs, finding his tight ends, who he likes to use the most this year because there's nobody really that he's been able to trust. Hitting Kincaid, hitting Knox in zone coverage. But then you had, a Brandon Cooks sighting, who they picked up late in the year, who had a huge catch for them on the Bills' last drive. They hit Cooks for 36 yards down the seam on a blitz. Big catch. Ultimately leads to a drop. But it was back and forth. Allen, touchdown drive. Trevor Lawrence, touchdown drive. Allen gets the ball back, touchdown. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence finds Etienne. He goes for a touchdown. And then you get Buffalo. Going down the field. And the biggest concern you have is they score with 1 minute and 2 seconds left. And my worry is that's too much time, Sean McDermott. You're at the 1-yard line. You have Josh Allen, the tush push. It's a cheat code play. You can do it whenever you want for 1 yard. Also, people complained about it when it was the Eagles play, but now the Bills are doing it. I don't hear that much complaints anymore. Why is that? Don't get that, but whatever. NFL people. It's because you like Josh better, probably. I don't know. Just an observation. But they score with 1 minute and 2 seconds. And my thought is, okay, way too much time. Sean McDermott, stupid decision. What else is new? And thankfully, the first play of the drive, Trevor Lawrence throws a pass. It's tipped in the air. Cole Bishop, interception. The game is over. Intercepted. Bills win 27-24. Cam Little missed a field goal. Which is crazy. You lose by 3 points. It comes down to that much sometimes, and ultimately the Bills survive. They go into Jacksonville, and they get the victory. Josh Allen was Superman today. He was amazing. Any big play they needed, he made. Jacksonville beat the hell out of him. They hit him hard. They brought him to the ground. Whenever they could get their licks in, they did, and credit to them. That's part of the game, as they should. But he fought through it. He relied on guys that you'd never expect a team that I expect to get to the Super Bowl. To rely on Brandon Cooks being a go-to guy is something else at this point of a season. But when in Rome, and I mean, if you look for Josh today, 28 for 35, 273, 1 touchdown. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns. Shakir had 12 catches for 82 yards, so that was just his main guys, check down all day. Cooks had 3 for 58, Coleman 1 for 36, Dalton Knox 3 for 30, Kincaid 3 for 28 and a touchdown. They couldn't run the ball because Jacksonville has the best rushing defense in the NFL. They only allowed 80 yards rushing today to Buffalo, a really good running team. They shut that down, and still the Bills won the game. They are as dangerous as anybody. Nobody wants to play the Bills because the Bills are going to be on the road and they are going to be a favorite against any team remaining, and I truly believe that. We still have games remaining in the AFC, so we don't know who the Bills are going to play. We do know this. If the Patriots beat the Chargers tonight and they're a 3.5-point favorite, Sunday Night Football on NBC, the game starts in 10 minutes. If the Patriots win, they are a 2 seed, then the Bills will be going to Denver next weekend. And the Patriots will host either the winner of the Steelers and Texans tomorrow night at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, PA. That we know. The Chargers win, the Bills will either be heading to Houston or they will be heading to Pittsburgh. I don't care who the Bills play. They could be going to Denver. They will be the favorite in that game. They might not win it, but they will be the favorite. They were the favorite in Jacksonville today. Jacksonville, who had won 8 straight games going into the playoffs. They are not a perfect team. They are flawed, absolutely. But this is the year of the flawed team, of a wacky team winning a Super Bowl. There's no Kansas City. There's no Philadelphia last year. There's no Patriots dynasty. This is the Ravens beating San Francisco. A crazy year, Joe Flacco being a quarterback, and a team that just had enough finding a way to win. That could be Buffalo. That could be anybody. That could be the Patriots. That could be San Francisco. Who the hell knows? Without George Kittle now. It could be them. You just never know. But Josh was awesome. Buffalo's defense, to me, made enough plays to win, period. Intercepted Trevor twice. He had a really hard time figuring out that defense really until the fourth quarter. Simulated pressures, dropping into zones, and he didn't play overly well today. Jacksonville, Liam Cohen in year 1, they built a good team. And I think they will build on this. Now, there was an interaction that, and you might be able to find this if you're on Twitter. A reporter told Liam Cohen to keep his head up, had an awesome year, you built something special here in the media scrum. A reporter, I'm going to repeat this, a reporter said this. This is why the field of journalism is dying, or maybe is dead. It is not the job of a reporter to give ups, to give props to coaches that you're covering. It's not. It's so nice. No, it isn't. It isn't. It's bullshit. It's not nice. This is why I hate local broadcasters. God, that guy who did the Bruins forever, I hated him. Joe Bowen for the Maple Leafs. I'm going to piss off some people, but I hate it. When people say, oh my God, he's so good, he covers this. It's not your job to kiss the ass of the team, the organization that you cover. Can you maintain a good relationship but also be fair? I absolutely think you can. Because people did it for 100 years plus of covering sports. It's not new. Now, Liam Cohen did do a great job. But if I was in there asking questions, that's not a question. It's a statement. First of all, how that came up is beyond me. And a woman said it. See, it's weird in a scrum where you don't want to criticize a female. I will, because I don't care. It was bad. Male, female, black, white. It's bad etiquette. And you probably shouldn't have the job, quite frankly. But Jacksonville, from the start of the year where they looked lost, Trevor Lawrence had a really good season. Found his game, found his way in the NFL, you could argue, for being a number 1 overall pick, winning a national championship at Clemson in his freshman year and making it look easy. But he had his trials and tribulations this season. He had to battle to get to where he is. Parker Washington, who had a breakout season. Jacoby Myers, who got traded from the Raiders, then signed an extension. They had an awesome running game. They got a good team. Could use some new corners, which potentially Travis Hunter could be one of those options. They took him 2nd overall. He hardly had an impact on this team. I'd play him at corner and not wide receiver, but we'll see what they do. They got to make that decision as they progress. The South is an interesting division where Houston is a perennial playoff team. 3rd straight year for the Texans in the playoffs. The Colts had big aspirations but came up short because of injuries and a plethora of other things. Titans, Cam Ward, year 2, will have a new coach, be looking to get better. I think the South will be getting tougher, but I do think Jacksonville has a good team, will be competitive for years to come if they keep progressing down this. They were right there today. Buffalo's a more experienced playoff team. They've been in these wars. They've lost to Kansas City year after year after year. There's no Kansas City. This really is Baltimore is walking the proverbial line here, where if it's not this year, it's never going to happen. And they know that. I think it's good experience for Jacksonville. They easily could have won the game today. They didn't. Came down to the wire. But they can build on it, certainly. Good team. Good team, had a good season, competitive. Trevor Lawrence missed a field goal, a couple too many turnovers in a big spot. We'll see how they progress, but an awesome football game. And Josh Allen was Superman like he is most games. And you're going to win a lot of games when Josh Allen played the way that he did today. And they may need him to do it 3 more times, and I believe that he can, because there's no Mahomes walking out of door number 2. There's no Lamar. So that's a comforting feeling for Josh Allen. So you get 2 more AFC wildcard games tonight. The NFC, we know the games, and we had 2 games yesterday. Carolina the Rams, which was one of the biggest numbers in playoff history. Carolina was a 10.5-point underdog at home in the playoffs, which was tied for the biggest number in betting history for NFL playoffs postseason. And it turned out to be a 3-point thriller where the Rams lost to Carolina a few weeks ago in a game where Stafford had 3 interceptions, didn't play very well, and Carolina capitalized. And through 3 quarters, really, the script looked similar. Stafford only had 1 interception in the game, but he threw one to Mike Jackson. He couldn't get on the same. Davante Adams had 13 targets, only 5 catches. It just wasn't working his first game back from injury. Puka Nacua had 70 yards in the first drive. He ended with only 40 the rest of the game. So that was kind of puzzling. But you had a kickoff and then you had a fumble on one of those plays, which was recovered by the Carolina Panthers. Big play there. A block punt. So a lot happening to keep them in the game. Bryce Young made plays when he had to. I thought he battled in the game early on. I didn't think he played very well. They couldn't run the ball very effective. But Tetero McMillan, the rookie, at 5 for 81. Coker, 9 for $134 and a touchdown. He was awesome. And ultimately, the Panthers score with 2.5 minutes left to take the lead. And Stafford gets the ball and says, "Come on, boys. We're winning this game." And he led a drive down the field, surgical, play after play, and it ends with him throwing kind of a back shoulder out to Colby Parkinson, the tight end. He keeps his feet in bounds. He crosses the goal line, touchdown for the Rams to take a 34-31 lead in Carolina. An MVP drive. Davante had 2 catches on this drive. They finally clicked. And he was awesome on that drive. He made it happen. Bryce Young gets the ball back, no timeouts, 4 plays, no yards gained. The Rams hold on to win. The Panthers cover the 10.5, but ultimately the better team wins, barely. It's a cautionary tale. But in the end, the better team won, the Rams, the team that most people believe can win the Super Bowl, including me. But the secondary for the Rams is their weakness. We know this. And teams got a good idea of how to exploit it. Mentioned McMillan, Coker, nearly over 200 yards between those 2 guys in receiving yards. The Rams will now play the Chicago Bears in Chicago next weekend. Because, Seattle 1 seed playing San Francisco, the 6 seed, and the 5 seed, the Rams, heading to the 2 seed, the Chicago Bears. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold in Chicago. And I would guess they'll probably want to split them up. But Pittsburgh for sure, the Pittsburgh-Houston winner will be playing on Sunday at either 4 o'clock or 7:30. I would lean 7:30 to give them the most amount of rest for that game. So let's say I think that's 100% a lock. They'll either play at 4 or 7:30 on Sunday because they're playing on Monday, because they'll have a short week regardless of them winning that game. So could be the Bills playing, if that's one game. But they'll probably want to put an NFC, AFC on both days. So likely, they usually go one seed. So let's say Seattle, San Francisco Saturday night. So San Francisco Saturday night in Seattle. Obviously, Denver against whomever that might be. Could be Buffalo. Could be the Chargers on Saturday afternoon. So the Bears game could be during the day, which would be good for the Rams. But the Rams, a dome team who play in Los Angeles, and you have to go to Chicago in mid-January. Big wins last night, looked extremely cold for the Packers and the Bears. And that's not an easy task to go through that. And the Bears have good wide receivers who can get down the field and burn you. Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden Jr. III. I mean, they got guys. Colston Loveland. So there's options for the Bears to kind of light up a defense, certainly. So the Rams win and they advance, but I worry about their secondary. It can be had. You can put big plays up on them, and I don't know if they can stop because their corners, you can only scheme it up. They're not going to get any better. They're not signing somebody new between now and Sunday that's going to dramatically improve their team. So it's figure it out, basically, and what are you going to do to make a difference? Stafford's great. Nakua's great. Parkinson, those tight ends know how to play with Stafford. They know where he's going to place the ball, and I trust all of that. McVay, their offense, it didn't work with Devontae Adams, but I think that is fixable and that can be improved. The defense, I'm not so sure. And honestly, the scariest offense that they might play could be Chicago, because Chicago they have a mobile quarterback. They have a lot of different weapons that have a lot of different skills. Chicago can run the football if they want to with Swift and Mungai and Caleb when he wants to take off. So there's definitely some threatening pieces to that team. And all the football has been awesome this weekend. My favorite game was Bears-Packers, bar none. Bar none. It had everything. It had everything that you want in a football game. Drama, big plays, stupidity, both ways, weather, which you don't get in a dome, and ultimately triumph. Triumph in a stadium that never gets triumph. The Chicago Bears have been a joke for a long time. I grew up a Dolphins fan. I think there's a lot of symbolism between the Dolphins and the Bears. No, when it comes to weather or anything, but just two franchises that know what it's like to suffer, know what it's like to lose. And the Green Bay Packers have been the big brother to the Bears for a very long time. They've owned them. Aaron Rodgers said it. I own the Bears. I own Chicago. And he did. And the Packers still owned the Bears last year. But then this season, they get Micah Parsons. It's the Packers' year. He blows out his knee. They have injuries to their offensive line. Jordan Love misses a few games, receiver injuries, but they overcome it all, and they still go into a game against the Bears as the favorite, which was interesting, to say the least. 2.5-point favorite in Chicago. And it's 21-3 Green Bay at the half. Chicago's 1 for 4 on fourth down in the first half. They go for it on fourth down in their own territory, which I disagree with. I'm screaming at the TV going, what the hell is Ben Johnson doing? Is he taking too much of the Dan Campbell soup, of the Dan Campbell double espresso? This makes no sense. Clearly does not trust his defense because he's just running roughshod, hoping something will work out for him. 3 drives, 3 touchdowns for Green Bay. Love in complete control, time in pocket, passing at will. 3 touchdowns, all the different receivers. Crossing routes, owning the middle of the field, torching the Chicago defense. And Chicago, the one thing for Green Bay, McManus missed a field goal right before the half. And I went, maybe there's something there. And I mentioned 21-3, but I didn't start out the second half going, okay, big comeback here. Chicago, drive, field goal. Field goal. So 21-6, okay. Bears, Green Bay, 3-0. 3 of their first 4 drives in the second half, 3 notes for Green Bay. Stop running the football, drop back passing, the Bears bringing the house, tight coverage, making it tough. Another field goal drive for the Bears, 21-9 entering the fourth quarter. So making it a game, but not really finding their groove offensively. Still Green Bay comfortably in control of the game, if you will. So then, Colston Loveland, rookie, who Loveland, Brock Bowers, both are going to be good NFL players. Both are already good NFL players. He had an okay rookie year, Colston Loveland. Nothing spectacular. First playoff game yesterday, 8 catches for $137. Team high in catches and in yards. He makes a big play. They get a rushing touchdown on the drive. They make it a game. 21-16. Then you get another drive where Chicago, dead to rights. Caleb Williams makes one of the more incredible throws you will ever see on fourth down. He is dead to rights. He's scrambling, and he throws across his body, finds DJ Moore on the sideline for a massive first down. He doesn't make that throw. They lose the game, period. Makes the throw. Touchdown on the drive. Bears take the lead. Soldier Field, I'd have to imagine, goes crazy. I don't know. I watch the games on mute. Soldier Field goes crazy. Matt LaFleur, sideline, just a glazed look on his face. What the hell is going on? Oh, timeouts, taking timeouts. Oh, making stupid decisions. Not to mention, through this, McManus missed another field goal, and we get to this moment in the game. Green Bay, Jordan Love, still a really good quarterback, leads a touchdown drive where he finds Matthew Golden, the rookie, who had a nice game himself, touchdown with 2:56 to play, 27-24, Green Bay. Brandon McManus misses the extra point, which only gives Green Bay a 3-point lead. So to tally up, 2 missed field goals and a mixed extra point, that's 7 points Green Bay did not put on the board. Caleb Williams, touchdown drive, busted coverage to DJ Moore. He's wide open. 1:08 left. Touchdown. 31-27 Chicago. They ultimately hold on. The Bears come back from 21-3, win. And Ben Johnson says in his locker room speech, "Fuck the Bears," after the game that's now gone viral. The Bears beat the Packers it's only the third time that these two teams have played in a playoff game together, which is hard to believe because they've been around for so long. It is a colossal choke job for the Green Bay Packers. That's the only way you can describe it. I found this, just a Sheil Kapadia of The Ringer. Big football guy, an Eagles fan, which I'm sure he's just losing it today. Second here. I had it this morning. Thought I took a screenshot. I guess not. Pull him up on X here. Sheil Kapadia. Packers disaster. Blew a 21-3 halftime lead. Blew a 27-16 lead with 6:36 left. 2 missed field goals. 1 missed PAT. Delay of game out of a timeout in the fourth. Turnover on defense in the fourth. Last 7 drives. 1 touchdown. 4 punts. 1 missed field goal. End of game. And you lost. It's hard to believe it happened. It could be a situation where Matt LaFleur loses his job. And I think Matt LaFleur's a good coach. And I think Matt LaFleur would be probably given a head coaching job elsewhere if he was fired by the Green Bay Packers. And Green Bay rarely does coach turnover, but he's got 1 year left on his deal just 1 year left on his deal because this season ended yesterday. They're supposed to meet this week to talk about the future. But I mean, that's a rough way to go into a meeting. That's an embarrassing loss where you should have won. And would they have gone far? They would have played Seattle as a 7 seed. They've had a lot of injuries. But, I mean, San Francisco had a lot of injuries. They just beat Philadelphia. They found a way to win a playoff game, something Green Bay could not do. Jordan Love is an uber talent. But they've lost in the first round of the playoffs the last 2 seasons with him at quarterback. They don't go far when they make the playoffs. So there's something not working in Green Bay. I wouldn't fire him, but it was such a bad scene. It was such a bad loss that I think it has to at least be considered. But you don't fire I think some teams have fired a coach just because they feel like they have to. I don't think that's the smartest decision in the world just to do it. Because there's only so many coaches, and there's already a number of jobs available that we'll get to, where I don't think you're going to find somebody as good a coach as Matt LaFleur, quite frankly. Only one team's going to get John Harbaugh. That's the thing. All these teams that have an availability. Only one of them is going to get him. We'll see, but credit to the Bears, credit to Ben Johnson. They are this year's Washington Commanders. Dan Quinn, first year as a head coach, gets the job and gets his team in a position to go on a run. Chicago has another home game. They will host the Rams. Not an easy game by any means, but you get another game at home, that Soldier Field crowd, the weather on your side, opposed to the Los Angeles Rams for sure. Fascinating game. Two very different quarterbacks. Two number one overall picks. Two dangerous offensive teams. Puka Nacua, as dangerous as they come. Two teams that can run the football effectively. I'm all about it. But you still have two games this weekend. You have the Chargers just go turn it over on downs in the red zone after a Drake May interception. It was 3.5 for the Patriots going into the game. I think the Chargers toss up again. No clear favorite to me. Because absolutely, I believe the Chargers can win the game tonight in Foxborough. But other intriguing storylines is head coaches. Baltimore, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, the Tennessee Titans, the Miami Dolphins, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Arizona Cardinals all have head coaching openings. And there could be more following this weekend. I would say the most surprising firings, John Harbaugh was surprising for... He had been there 18 years. He had won a Super Bowl and had a lot of success, but they missed the playoffs this year. He had never gotten over the hump with Lamar Jackson, a two-time MVP. It seemed like him and Lamar's relationship was waning. They weren't really on the same page this season, and they go in a different direction. Baltimore's a lot like Pittsburgh. I think they really think about these decisions. They don't like to go through. They like to make smart hires at the head coaching position and have them for a long time. Now, who will get these jobs? These 8 open vacancies. There's a number of different candidates. John Harbaugh, number 1. Giants, Falcons, Dolphins, Vegas. To me, I don't see him going to Arizona because I think it's a mess. Tennessee, I think they'd really have to pay him a lot of money, even though I don't think Tennessee's a bad job per se. Cleveland, he's not going to Cleveland. And he's obviously not going back to Baltimore because they just fired him. So Giants, Atlanta, Miami, Vegas. Why the Giants? Well, the Giants love a splash hire. They got the young quarterback in Jackson Dart. Joe Shane knows John Harbaugh. They have a good relationship, and he reportedly wants him. Atlanta, they have all the pieces to be a competitive team. They just need a good head coach, and they need to figure out what to do at quarterback. But Bijan Robinson might be the best back in football. Drake London is awesome. Kyle Pitts had a great kind of a breakout season finally this year for Kyle Pitts. After coming out of Florida, you expect him to be great. Never really put it together until this season. So Atlanta feels like a competent head coach away from winning the NFC South and being a threat. Miami is for one reason and one reason only. Stephen Ross, the owner, is a Michigan alum, a Michigan booster. He gave $200 million to the University of Michigan 6 months before they hired Jim Harbaugh to coach the team. Jim Harbaugh won a national championship at Michigan, left then to go coach the Chargers. He wanted Jim Harbaugh to coach the Dolphins, but he didn't leave Michigan. You can't get Jim, you could get his brother. Now, the quarterback situation is awful. The Tyreek Hill situation is awful. They just hired a new GM, John Eric Sullivan, who was the VP of player ops for Green Bay, worked in Green Bay for 22 years. To me, it would be a money and a decision to go work for a guy that you like rather than the situation itself, because the Giants, the Falcons, and maybe Miami's better than Vegas, but I don't even know if they are better situations than going to coach the Miami Dolphins. Vegas Raiders, they got the number 1 pick in the draft, which looks like it'll be Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback of the Indiana Hoosiers, who will play in the national championship game against the University of Miami a week from tomorrow in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, Stephen Ross's stadium. Tom Brady is sort of running the Raiders. Is he running the Raiders? Who the hell knows? They're paying $60 million this year to coaches to not coach on their roster. $60 million bucks. That's not a typo. So they'll actually be way more than that, because if they hire John Harbaugh, he'll be making, I don't know, 20 plus million a year. He was making 17 in Baltimore, so he'll be getting a raise over, I would think. So maybe you get Mendoza, you keep Max Crosby. I love Brock Bauer, but Vegas, to me, is not that close. So again, but John Harbaugh is the hot candidate for sure. He will pick his destination where he wants to go. Maybe he'll pick Tennessee, because I don't think Tennessee's that bad of an option, but we'll see. Other candidates, Kevin Stefanski, who the Browns fired. Coached there for 6 years, won Coach of the Year twice. Here's the thing. You win Coach of the Year twice and you coach the Cleveland Browns, you got to be one hell of a fucking coach. Pardon my French. That organization masters in stupidity. They gave Deshaun Watson $250 million guaranteed. He was a piece of shit long before Cleveland, but he's still a piece of shit, and he tore his Achilles, and he's got all kinds of injuries, and he's done. They took 2 quarterbacks in last year's draft, and neither one is going to be a great NFL pro. So you're going to have to find another quarterback again. Myles Garrett is awesome, and their defense is good. And Jim Schwartz is one of the best DCs in football. So there's a positive in Cleveland. But they fired Stefanski. Stefanski's going to get a job in this cycle, 100%. I think he's either going to Baltimore or he's going to the Giants. Now, Harbaugh makes it more complicated, but I think the Giants and Stefanski or Baltimore and Stefanski make a lot of sense. He's an offensive guru. Can he turn it around for Lamar? Lamar, it's gone stale. Lamar cannot be running 15 times a game. He's going to have a transition in his game to being not a pocket passer, but a little more selective, and when he takes off, when he takes hits, all of those type of things. And I think Stefanski, who's worked with far lesser talent in Cleveland, got them to the playoffs, helped Baker Mayfield turn around his career. He could do that for Lamar. He could also work with Jackson Dart, help him, not take as many hits, learn to slide. They got a good offense. I think that could work. Other candidates, Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator for the Packers. I believe he's got 5 interviews scheduled for next week. So he very well could get a job during this cycle. He's a former coach at Boston College, left Boston College to coach the Packers, has had a good defense, and has been a good coordinator. Question mark at the end of this one, Mike McDaniel. Does Mike McDaniel become a head coach again, or has become an offensive coordinator? I lean the latter. Like, for instance, if I'm the Detroit Lions, I would love to have Mike McDaniel as my offensive coordinator if I'm Dan Campbell. Just missed the playoffs. I had to fire my OC, and Mike knows how to coach offense. He's good at it. And he's worked with Kyle Shanahan. They've had a lot. Let's bring in Mike McDaniel. He can run the offense. I can run the defense. Be the guy, and let's see what happens. Now, Mike McDaniel, I believe, is interviewing with Tennessee, may get an interview with Arizona, but I think he'll be an offensive coordinator at the end of this. Detroit makes a lot of sense. Maybe he goes back to San Francisco with Kyle. Maybe Baltimore as an offensive coordinator if they hire a defensive-minded head coach. Raheem Morris was the head coach of Atlanta, is getting interviews. Again, I think he's more of a defensive coordinator. Dallas would make some sense. They fired Matt Eberflus, so they need a new defensive coordinator. It'll be their fourth defensive coordinator in 4 years for the Cowboys. So he would be a good DC to bring in to Dallas potentially. Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator for the Chargers, was with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, coached with John Harbaugh in Baltimore as a defensive assistant there. So he's been part of kind of the Harbaugh tree for a long time. He's been linked to Baltimore. I'm not hiring another Harbaugh disciple. If I'm Baltimore, I kind of want to just rip off the Band-Aid, if you will. Maybe Miami. Maybe Cleveland. Brian Flores, former Dolphins coach. I think Brian Flores should be head coach. I don't think he should have got fired in Miami because he was right about Tua the whole time. He didn't want to play Tua because Tua was broken. Well, I mean, he wasn't wrong. So, I mean, there's validity to his approach. Is he a hard coach? Yes. He gets a ton out of the defenses he coaches. Coached the hell out of the Vikings this year on a bad team. They competed hard the whole year, had really good results on that defense. If they had any kind of quarterback play, they're a playoff team, the Minnesota Vikings. So Brian Flores, I look at Vegas. I think, as just a culture reset guy, that would make some sense. Obviously not going back to Miami. Maybe the Giants, maybe Baltimore as well. Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator for Seattle, getting interviews. Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. He's been a head coach before. He could be a retread. Cliff Kingsbury, head coach in Arizona, way back when, has been the OC with Washington the past 2 years. And then there's Robert Saleh, who I mentioned with San Francisco, who was with the Jets. It didn't go well, but it was with the Jets. And it's an aberration for everybody. Other than Rex Ryan the last number of years, it's never gone well for somebody being a head coach of the Jets. So there's lots of different possibilities. It's interesting. A lot of openings. Again, the Packers could become open. The Eagles potentially could become available. If one of those teams believes that they could get John Harbaugh, maybe they fire their coach and go, hey, we could win a Super Bowl. We have a really good team. We bring in a more competent coach. Maybe we can do it. So there's options there as well with teams thinking, looking into next season. we'll be on this. We'll talk about this throughout the week. I'll be back on Tuesday. We're going to talk about tonight's Patriots-Chargers game. We're going to talk about Texans-Steelers, which is tomorrow night. We're going to look at the kind of the outlook of the NHL. We'll get in some baseball storylines as well with Alex Bregman going to the Chicago Cubs late last night, kind of under the radar. So stay tuned for all of that. Thanks for hanging out tonight. We'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. Have a great week. Stay happy, stay healthy. I'm your host, Noah Warren, and this has been the Live and Learn podcast.